Hello, dear viewers. In this very first episode, I will tell you the story of someone who is regarded as the father of history, Herodotus. Enjoy watching. As the sun rose over the Aegean Sea, it shimmered among the white stone houses of the small coastal city of Halicarnassus. In 484 BC, in a small coastal city called Halicarnassus, a child was born. His name was Herodotus, and one day the world would call him the father of history. Birthplace of Herodotus, later home to the mausoleum of Halicarnassus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Today, this ancient harbor city is known as Bodrum, Turkey. Young Herodotus sits in the bustling marketplace, listening to merchants from distant lands. Old sailors spoke to him of storms, gods, and faraway kingdoms. In a world ruled by myths, Herodotus sought something more. He wanted not just the tales of gods but the truths of men. On one of the final nights in Halicarnassus, young Herodotus sat in silence. Midnight embraced the city, while the sea whispered against the stone walls. With a trembling hand, he wrote upon the parchment, unaware that history itself would one day flow from his words. Destiny was already weaving its threads in the shadows of the coming dawn. As dawn broke over Halicarnassus, the city trembled with the roar of political strife. Herodotus's family, torn from their home, was cast into exile. Standing at the shore, he turned his eyes to the endless sea, and before stepping onto the small vessel, he let his gaze linger one final time upon the waters that had cradled his youth. At dawn, Halicarnassus trembled with turmoil. Lixus, father of Herodotus, gathered his family for exile. At the harbor, waves crashed as he placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "Remember this sea, my son," he whispered, "for it carries not only ships, but also our memories." Moments later, they boarded the small vessel that would take them away. Exile became his destiny. But instead of chains, it gave him wings. His journeys would take him beyond the Greek world, into the heart of empires. Exile was not merely a punishment for Herodotus. It became his destiny. It tore him away from the city of his memories, yet it opened the gates to distant worlds. Through exile, he witnessed new cities, new cultures, and new voices. What seemed like loss became the very force that shaped his vision of history. His first stop, in exile, was Egypt. There, Herodotus gazed in awe at the towering pyramids and listened with wonder as the Egyptian priests revealed their secrets of the sacred Nile. Herodotus wandered through the boundless deserts of Egypt. He listened to tales as old as time itself, the stories of the ancient gods, and there he witnessed the power of Set and of Ra, and how deeply their presence shaped the lives of the Egyptians. After his exile in Egypt, Herodotus journeyed to the very heart of the Persian Empire. He wandered through bustling marketplaces, marveled at the grandeur of its palaces, and stood in awe before the mighty armies of Persia. In the heart of the Persian Empire, Herodotus witnessed a devotion unlike any other. Men and women bowing before the eternal flame, their voices rising to Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Light. To them, fire was not mere heat, but the living breath of the divine. In those turbulent years, Herodotus bore witness to the clash of empires, to Marathon's defiance, Thermopylae's sacrifice, the thunder of Artemision, the fiery waves of Salamis, the triumph at Plataea, and the final reckoning at Mycale. Each battle carved itself into the memory of a world trembling between freedom and dominion. Herodotus wrote not just of kings and generals, but of common soldiers, farmers, and sailors. For him, history was not only glory, it was fear, hope, and human error. After witnessing the bitter and blood-soaked wars, Herodotus carried the weight of history upon his shoulders. Exiled from his homeland, he journeyed across the lands of Greece, from the bustling markets of Athens to the sacred grounds of Delphi, where voices of the gods whispered through stone. In every city-state he entered, he listened, he observed, and he wrote, preserving the struggles of men and the fate of nations. Within the lands of Greece, Herodotus once more stood witness to the fury of war. Among them, none struck his soul more deeply than the Battle of Thermopylae, where King Leonidas and his Spartans fought with unyielding courage against the endless tide of Persia. Herodotus was deeply moved by King Leonidas, who stood unshaken before an enemy countless times greater, and by the fearless resolve of his warriors who faced the Persian host without a trace of fear. In his old age, Herodotus stood before a gathering in the square, reading passages from his book, the Histories. Some listened with respect and approval, while others raised their voices in doubt and criticism. Yet in that moment, his words reached every ear, stirring debate among all who heard them. His work was more than stories of war. It was an inquiry, a search for why nations rise and fall, why men fight and why they dream of peace. Herodotus was not merely a storyteller. He was a seeker of truth, and through his search he gave humanity a gift, the science of history. And that is why across the ages he is remembered as the father of history. Thank you for taking the time to listen and to watch.